Fires are raging in the state of California, burning up hundreds of homes in the Los Angeles metro area. Nearly 200,000 people tonight are under evacuation orders. Adam Housley, he's on the ground and joins us with a live report. Also tonight, we have new big breaking information about the special counsel, Robert Mueller's partisan, extremely biased, hyper-partisan attack team. We're going to name names tonight and explain exactly who these Trump-hating investigators really are and why this entire witch hunt needs to be shut down and shut down immediately. What is beyond clear tonight is that Robert Mueller has assembled the most partisan special counsel in history. Now, they are in utter disgrace in terms of equal justice under the law, the rule of law, and, of course, that means our Constitution. They now pose a direct threat to you, the American people, and our American republic. We're going to break it all down for you. It is something the mainstream media, I promise, will never do, and that's called their job. And also tonight, new information about the Trump-hating, Hillary-loving FBI agent Peter Strzok. We have Department of Justice officials. They're now pouring over 10,000 text messages between Strzok and his FBI lawyer girlfriend, Lisa Page, so that they can turn over specific Trump-bashing messages to the House Intelligence Committee. And we're learning that Strzok's fingerprints are all over that anti-Trump, fake news, Russian dossier bought and paid for by Hillary Clinton. Now, also, after decades of defending Bill and Hillary Clinton's abusive and destructive behavior towards women, well, tonight, Democrats are demanding that Senator Grope himself, Al Franken, step down after yet more accusers have come forward. We'll cover all of that and much more in important breaking news. Opening monologue. All right, tonight, before we do our deep dive into Mueller's band of Trump-hating, Hillary Clinton-loving lackeys, we do have major breaking news from the Hill's John Solomon. Now, according to his new report tonight, a whistleblower told Congressman Ron DeSantis that during an FBI video conference about former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, well, a senior FBI official made an inappropriate comment about Flynn, which made it seem like there was a personal motive to investigate him. We'll have more on that story in a few minutes. But first, the special counsel of Robert Mueller's entire investigation, we now know tonight, is one giant cesspool. It's full of corruption, partisanship, and unbridled bias. It is the epitome of the Washington, D.C. sewer and swamp. And Mueller's stooges literally are doing everything within their power and then some to try and remove President Trump from office. And tonight, we have new information about one of Robert Mueller's top attack dogs who has very deep ties to Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Democratic Party. Her name, we reveal, is Jeannie Ray. Now, there's a ton of information. Pay very close attention. Records show she is a huge Democrat. And since 2008, Ray has donated nearly $10,000 to Democrats. Now, that includes contributions to Hillary Clinton in 2015, 2016. She also dished out thousands of dollars to Barack Obama in 2008 and 2011. Now, it's not surprising because Ray is a registered Democrat in Washington, D.C. Does that sound like a fair, impartial investigator? For all of you watching at home, I don't think so. And it only gets worse from there. From 2009 to 2011, Ray worked directly with former Obama Attorney General Eric Holder. Yeah, the same Eric Holder that proudly declared that he is part of the Donald Trump resistance. And Ray served as a Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Office of Legal Counsel at the DOJ, where she advised Holder, the Obama White House, and other top Justice Department officials on all sorts of legal matters. And take a look at this government document. Ray is listed as the attorney for former Obama Deputy National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes when he was being interviewed about the Benghazi terror attack. So clearly, Ray has deep ties to top Obama administration officials. Look at this press release from her old law firm, WilmerHale. That's the same law firm Robert Mueller worked at. By the way, they mostly only donate to Democrats. It describes Ray as, quote, having served as a legislative fellow in the office of former Senator Tom Daschle and as a counsel in the U.S. Department of Justice's Office of Legal Policy. If you don't recall, Daschle was the Senate Majority Leader for the Democrats in the early 2000s. Guess what? There's more. Jeannie Ray also has done legal work for the Clinton Foundation. You can't make this up. In 2015, while at WilmerHale, Ray defended the Clinton Foundation against a racketeering lawsuit. And Ray's name appears at the bottom of the plea agreement. Remember George Papadopoulos, the Trump foreign policy advisor that nobody ever heard of? Well, Ray's background and resume, what does it prove? She is a total and complete partisan hack. Mueller had no business, like in a lot of the other people he selecting her to be a part of his team, but he did it anyway, which should tell you all you need to know about the type of operation Robert Mueller is running. Next is one of Robert Mueller's top investigators, who is known as the special counsel's pit bull and has a history of all kinds of unethical, highly questionable, strong-arm prosecutorial tactics. And, of course, I'm talking about Andrew Weissmann. Now, before we get into his past, we had breaking news last night that highlights Weissmann's political bias in an email released by Judicial Watch yesterday. Weissmann told former acting Attorney General Sally Yates how proud he was of her. This after Yates denied a direct order from President Trump and refused to defend what we now know is constitutional, knew then, the travel ban back in January. Here's the actual email. I am so proud. I am in awe. Thank you so much. All my deepest respects. Well, now that you know about Weissmann, well, let's dive into his past. Our friend, colleague, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, he's been going over this guy's record with a fine-tooth comb. Guess what? Weissmann is a legal nightmare. Now, we have to know Weissmann has deep and close ties to both Mueller and the disgraced former FBI Director James Comey. He's worked closely with both of them for years, and he has donated over $4,000 to Democrats like Barack Obama. So there's no way he'd have any political bias, I'm sure, right? Well, this is the part that's still deeply disturbing. When Weissmann was the top prosecutor, remember the Enron task force? Well, he secured a highly controversial obstruction of justice case against American accounting giant Arthur Andersen. It destroyed that company. It put tens of thousands of people out of work. It drove that company out of business. And in 2005, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Weissmann's conviction in an almost unprecedented 9-0 unanimous ruling. They excoriated him for his behavior. And that's not the only example of Weissmann's hard-charging, overly aggressive tactics. As part of the Enron investigation, Weissmann sent 4 Merrill Lynch executives to jail for as long as a year. Guess what? They were innocent. That conviction was also later overturned, this time by the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. Here's the bottom line. Weissmann, guess what? He's a legal tyrant. He has been accused of doing just about anything to secure a conviction. Does he not care about equal justice under the law? He's been accused of intimidating witnesses, making up crimes that do not even exist, and even withholding evidence that would have been exculpatory and helped the defense in one case. And Weissmann is also directly tied to that corrupt Uranium One deal and Obama administration's attempt to hide it from you, the American people. Weissmann, guess what? He was in charge of the DOJ's fraud section during the Russian bribery scheme. And Greg Jarrett pointed out that Weissmann's signature, look there, it's at the bottom of the plea deal that was signed by the Russian businessman at the center of that case. And also tonight, breaking information about the Trump-hating, Hillary-loving FBI agent Peter Strzok. He's the guy that was fired from Mueller's team for political bias towards President Trump, another one of the dream team of Robert Mueller. Now, the DOJ is reviewing 10,000 text messages that Strzok sent to his FBI official girlfriend, Lisa Page. She also worked for Mueller. And what for? To determine which specific messages where Strzok was attacking President Trump. They need to be turned over to the House Intelligence Committee. So at this hour, it's unclear how many of the 10,000 messages have to do with President Trump or Mueller's investigation. It should be an interesting read. Now, the DOJ says this could take weeks or even months. Can we move a little faster? It's not that hard. We're also learning tonight that Strzok's dirty and biased fingerprints, guess what? They're all over the fake news, anti-Trump, Russian propaganda dossier bought and paid for by Hillary and the DNC that she was running. And according to a report, Strzok and his team, they were tasked with handling the dossier when it was given to the FBI. And according to other reports, information that fake news dossier was used to get a FISA warrant to surveil the Trump campaign advisor Carter Page. Stop and think about this. Hillary Clinton, bought and paid for Russian propaganda to influence an election. Sound familiar? And they might have used it to get a warrant to investigate an opposition party, a campaign, a president-elect. This is insanity. Strzok is as biased as they come. And here are more reasons why. According to a report, it was Strzok who signed the document that officially started the Russian collusion witch hunt. Now, the Trump-hating FBI agent also oversaw the FBI interviews, get this, of former National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. And as we told you about last night, Strzok's mistress, Lisa Page, served on Robert Mueller's dream team before leaving. Now, here's where it gets really disturbing. As our own Catherine Herridge is reporting, well, Strzok played a pivotal role also in the Clinton email server investigation. You know, the one where they actually had an exoneration letter before the investigation. And he even took part in the 2016 interview of Hillary Clinton herself. By the way, she was never put under oath. And we're also learning that Strzok participated in the FBI interviews of key Clinton aides and allies, Huma Abedin, Cheryl Mills. And we showed you last night how lies were told by both of them. And here's the most egregious example of Strzok's rampant political bias. He's responsible for changing that crucial language in James Comey's statement that exonerated Hillary before they investigated. He's the one that revised grossly negligent to extremely careless, which gave them an excuse to let Hillary walk. Now, all of this is shocking. It's incomprehensible. It's a smoking gun proof that Mueller's probe is a total political sham. It's a witch hunt. It needs to be shut down immediately if we believe in the rule of law and our Constitution. But guess what? The Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, who appointed Mueller as the special counsel, he's saying tonight he's satisfied with this investigation. Mr. Rosenstein, are you serious? You need to wake the hell up, get your head out of the stand, and take a look at what is actually going on. This is about law and order and legal justice under the law. Apparently, Rosenstein is the only person apparently in America that doesn't seem to realize, I guess unless you work at fake news CNN or conspiracy TV MSNBC, you seem to be the only one that doesn't realize there are very serious flaws with Mueller's investigation. This is exactly why we have been saying it's time for Rosenstein to pack his boxes, leave the Department of Justice, because this is an injustice. Now, Mueller's investigation is troubling. Democrats are using it to attack a duly elected president, the one you elected. And here's an example. Earlier today, you have 58 geniuses in the House of Representatives, all Democrats, supporting a resolution to impeach President Trump. For what? The bias, the politics swirling around Mueller's investigation is beyond alarming at this point. It's been a year of this, but it's still part of a much larger attack, and it's all aimed at the President of the United States. And, of course, it's being orchestrated by deep state operatives and Obama holdovers. Now, we have seen example after example of former Obama administration officials going after, attempting to discredit the president every day, day in, day out. Look at James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, now works at fake news CNN. He's repeatedly attacked President Trump. Here's one small example.
Are you questioning his fitness?
Yes, I do. I really question his ability to, his fitness to be in this office. And I also am beginning to wonder about his motivation for it. Maybe he is looking for a way out. How much longer does the country have to borrow a phrase, endure this nightmare?
Pretty disgraceful. And former Obama CIA Director John Brennan, more deep state. Well, he's made this shocking admission when testifying before Congress. Watch him.
I wanted to make sure that every information and bit of intelligence that we had was shared with the Bureau so that they could take it. It was well beyond my mandate as Director of CIA to follow on any of those leads that involved U.S. persons. But I made sure that anything that was involving U.S. persons, including anything involving the individuals involved in the Trump campaign, was shared with the Bureau.
So what Brennan did was do everything within his power to make sure that the FBI and the deep state were going after Trump and his campaign. Now, after hearing statements like that, should we really be at all surprised that at the beginning of the Trump administration, remember, we had 125 deep state leaks in 126 days? Imagine this. When has it ever happened that a conversation with a sitting president and a prime minister or a president of another country was ever leaked? I can't think of a time. And we can't forget that right before he left office, President Obama, remember we talked about this? He signed Executive Order 12333, which made it easier to share intelligence so everybody across the government agencies had access. Why did he do it? Why didn't he do it during his term? Now, there's also widespread unmasking of American citizens, including Trump associates. And at one point, during the end of the Obama administration, former UN ambassador, remember Samantha Power? Why would she be unmasking people caught up, incidentally, in surveillance at the rate of 1 American a day? And then we have Ben Rhodes, former Obama Deputy National Security Advisor. Remember, talking about the attorney Ray? Oh, remember him? He was a person of interest in the unmasking scandal. So it appears what the Obama administration was, in fact, deliberate by unleashing this deep state power to strike against the incoming president before he even took office. And take a look at how former Ambassador John Bolton tonight is describing this mess that is going on in this country tonight.
As the Wall Street Journal said, this is the first attempted coup d'etat in American history. I mean, it's a mini coup d'etat, but it goes right along with the idea that they should have won the election.
Transfer of power is not minor.
You have to listen. This is not a game. What is happening in this country is dangerous, and it needs to be stopped before the deep state can overthrow the president that you, the American people, voted for, a duly elected president. We'll have more on that in a minute. But first, also tonight, we have scandals continuing to engulf the Democratic Party all across the spectrum. Senator Al Franken, Senator Groper, the one-time darling of the left, well, he's in deep political turmoil tonight. 2 more women are now accusing that senator of misconduct, including a former congressional aide who alleges that Franken tried to forcibly kiss her in 2006 after taping a radio show. Now, according to her account, she rebuffed the kiss, and Franken allegedly responded by telling her, quote, "Well, it's my right as an entertainer." And Franken has categorically denied that allegation. Now, the second new claim of misconduct comes from a woman who says that Franken groped her at an election party in 2008. Now, she described what happened, writing, quote, "I don't let my husband touch me like that in public." And today, dozens of Democratic senators said it's time for Franken to resign. Franken apparently will make a statement tomorrow, and there were reports earlier tonight that he would step down, but Franken's office is disputing that claim, and they're now saying no final decision has been made, and that Franken is consulting with his family. And just yesterday, Democratic Congressman John Conyers, he announced he would not seek re-election. He retired after his own sexual misconduct scandals. By the way, for the record, in terms of being fair and balanced, I never called for Conyers to resign. As I have said many times, everyone deserves due process, even somebody that I have deep political disagreements with. He denied the charges in his case. Senator Franken, different story. He's an admitted groper, and there's photographic evidence of that misconduct. We've all seen that picture. I've known Leanne Tweeden for years. Franken groping radio talk show host Leanne Tweeden on a USO tour. And by the way, only now are we seeing, after the 8th person has come forward, a flood of Democratic senators calling on Franken to resign. So don't be fooled by any of this. This Democratic decision today obviously was coordinated, and to turn on Franken, it's purely political. If they were really, all these Democrats, the great champions of women's rights that they claim, why didn't they call for Franken's resignation after the picture? And why did they wait until 8 women had to come forward with similar claims? And he admitted a lot of it. And after decades of defending sexual predators, oh, Bill Clinton for 30 years, the Democrats were to believe now, finally, are actually credible on this issue? Or are they really paying a political price and playing a political game? Is this not about political expediency and not principle in play? Joining us now, Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi and Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Let me start with John Solomon, who will join us in a minute. Let's start with all of these revelations. Ray and Peter Strzok and all of these figures. Hillary Clinton supporters, Trump haters.
I think we now know that the Mueller investigation is illegitimate and corrupt. And Mueller has been using the FBI as a political weapon. And the FBI has become America's secret police, secret surveillance, wiretapping, intimidation, harassment, and threats. It's like the old KGB that comes for you in the dark of the night, banging through your door.
By the way, this is not a game. This is not hyperbole you're using here.
No, ask Paul Manafort. They came for him and broke through his front door.
And if it can happen to him, Greg,
it can happen to all of us. Absolutely. The FBI is a shadow government now. It has become highly politicized. Peter Strzok is the perfect example of it. He led both the Hillary Clinton investigation and, until recently, the Mueller investigation. This is a guy who has corrupt political motives. We now know it. The Congress has the emails, but he's the tip of the iceberg. There are others, especially Andrew Weissmann, and as you pointed out, Jeannie Ray.
Pam, you're the Attorney General of Florida. I have been laying out a case, and it just keeps growing by leaps and bounds. And in fact, I am saying with the surveillance, the unmasking, and the leaking of raw intelligence, we now have some members. I want to be very clear. I think the vast majority of our intelligence community, our FBI, they are good people that serve us and do a great job and keep us safe. But we have some that are using the powerful tools of intelligence. They have weaponized it, as in the case of General Flynn. And we have now criminalized and politicized at the highest levels, starting with James Comey and Mueller and his band of merry, Trump haters, criminalizing and politicizing the Justice Department and justice in America. How dangerous is this?
Well, Sean, you and Greg have laid out an incredible case every night. And here's why it's so important. As an Attorney General, to me, the Justice Department, and as it should be to the rest of the country, should exhibit the height of objectivity. They should be objective in everything they do for good reason, because this is all about the rule of law. Everything that we fight for as state attorneys general every single day of our careers. And then to see this happen, and the way you're laying it out, it would be so easy to find a team. As you said, there are so many great people in the Justice Department.
Pam, let me ask you this.
These people that shouldn't be donating to political campaigns, they could whack them off the list of being involved right out off the bat. Then we have Strzok. Everything you've laid out about Strzok, Lisa Page's girlfriend, Weissmann, who the Sally Yates email alone praising her for defying the President of the United States, who was her boss. So that's what's so troubling, this team that has been assembled, when Sean, you and Greg have laid out the perfect case why they shouldn't be on the team, and there are good people out there.
How else do you explain that the FBI can interview Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills, and even though they lied in the documents,
we proved it,
they were not charged with lying to the FBI?
Flynn was.
Flynn was, because he deviated fractionally from the tape-recorded conversation the FBI obtained illegally of his discussion with a Russian ambassador. I mean, that just underscores the rampant corruption here by the government.
Can I add to that?
Pam, go ahead.
Yeah, let me add to the Mike Flynn thing. Okay, not only they have him, they're using him, obviously flipping him as a witness, which we all know is common to do, but this is a man who now has lied to the vice president. They've saying he's lied to the FBI, and they're using his son, hanging his son over his head, to force him to be a witness.
By the way, tell us what we want to hear, or, well, we may have to go after your son.
It's extortion, it's threats, it's bribe. When you and I do it, it's illegal and we're thrown behind bars. When the government does it, they applaud themselves.
This is the biggest corruption we have ever seen in terms of our justice system, I believe, in our lifetime. Thank you both. Appreciate it. Great work, both of you. When we come back, we're going to talk to two Republican lawmakers. They are rightly demanding tonight an investigation be launched into the FBI and their special treatment of Hillary Clinton and politicizing the Justice Department and justice in America. And speaking of Hillary, does she really think Al Franken should resign? We asked her, and more later in the show. Stay with us. This is a Fox News alert. Massive wildfires are raging tonight in Southern California, destroying homes, shutting down highways, and forcing almost 200,000 people tonight to evacuate. You're seeing live pictures right now and also tonight. Well, today a group of GOP lawmakers, they held a press conference to call out the blatant double standard within the FBI, the obvious conflicts of interest within the Mueller team. Take a look.
Each day we learn more information that reflects the double standard that unfortunately seems to be pervasive at the FBI and at the Department of Justice.
Was this dossier, discredited dossier, paid for by DNC and Clinton campaign money? Was this dossier in fact used? Was it part of what was taken to the FISA court to allow spying to take place on Americans who were associated with the Trump campaign?
If Mueller was doing such a great job on investigating the Russian collusion, why could he have not found the conflict of interest within their own agency? The time for action is now, and there is a short fuse on demanding the kind of evidence and transparency that the American people deserve.
Here now live from Washington with much more are Freedom Caucus members. It's Chairman Congressman Mark Meadows, North Carolina. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz is with us. Congressman Meadows, let me begin with you. And I mean, there's so much to get into. Yeah, great point. It was a Hillary Clinton bought and paid for, Hillary-controlled DNC bought and paid for propaganda dossier. But did they use that as a reason to get a warrant to surveil against people in either the Trump campaign or the president-elect?
Well, we've asked for the FISA application document to be delivered to Congress. We think the American people need to know. But, you know, here's an interesting question, Sean. You and I have been talking about this for weeks, but here we have Peter Strzok, who actually was leading the Clinton investigation. Now, the same person who was not only interviewing Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin, but also was the same individual who changed the exoneration letter from extremely grossly negligent, which is a crime, to extreme carelessness. And yet here is the person that Bob Mueller asked to be on his investigative team. Now, there's a real problem with that when you know that he was involved in the first investigation, and now we're asking him to go after Trump. I just can't see the logic of it.
I talk, Congressman Gaetz, about the weaponization of our powerful tools of intelligence. We are now looking at a special counsel that has Comey and Strzok and Page and Weissman and all these Democratic donors and a lot of Trump haters and Hillary lovers. And this guy Strzok is tied to everything. Your thoughts? What do we need to do?
Well, the Attorney General needs to do his job and end this witch hunt charade. We have a clear double standard, and you see it and the American people see it. Hillary Clinton's being investigated by her own fan club before the 2016 election, and now the only way you seem to get on Mueller's team is to demonstrate a hatred for Donald Trump. I think that the way Mueller built his team was finding people who had a bias against the president and doing everything he could to include them in this investigation, and it's absolutely ludicrous. Strzok is a big problem, but you also have Jeannie Ray. You've got Andrew McCabe telling people that we have to treat Hillary Clinton special. I mean, she's got a small team at headquarters investigating her. Meanwhile, we got more people investigating Donald Trump than investigated the Oklahoma City bombing, for goodness sakes.
Don't we have to, considering the fix was in, Mark Meadows, don't we now have to have a fair, if we're going to have equal justice under the law?
Well, we really do. We need to not only have a special prosecutor, maybe to investigate the investigators. And we're here to tell you tonight, not only do we have a task force that is being set up under Chairman Gowdy and Chairman Goodlatte that includes Jim Jordan, myself, John Ratcliffe, Ken Buck. We're working with Matt Gaetz and Ron DeSantis to get to the bottom of it. But the American people have had enough. You know, here's the interesting thing. I've got union workers back home in North Carolina who paid dues. Many of them went to Hillary Clinton. Those dues went to Hillary Clinton, who actually, they ended up buying off Russian informants in an Acquire-style dossier, and they were actually voting for Donald Trump.
It's exactly what they say they don't like about Trump that they can't prove for a year. Last thing, what do we do? I don't even know what to do about Robert Mueller. Congressman Gaetz, last word.
Yeah, Sean, what I would say is first thing we need to do is we need to get rid of this Mueller investigation, and the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, sees the same things we see. So I don't know why Jeff Sessions has not fired Bob Mueller yet as a consequence of this terrible investigation. Second thing we need to do, we need to set up procedures at the FBI where there's more oversight and transparency so that this never happens again, so that we never get a rogue FBI director like James Comey who determines the outcome first.
Is this the worst you've ever seen it?
Absolutely,
well,
unquestionably.
It is the worst, and I tell you what, the time is now for Jeff Sessions to do his job, and if he doesn't do his job, you know, he needs to step aside and let somebody else do it.
Thank you both. I totally, completely, wholeheartedly agree. I'm told that it's being done. There's no evidence of it. Where is it? Where's the beef at this point? 1 year, no evidence on Trump. These are real crimes. This is real corruption. All right. Thank you both for being with us. By the way, those wildfires, our thoughts and prayers with the people in Ventura County. I lived in the adjacent Santa Barbara County when I was living in California for 5 years. This is way beyond the pale. Look at that fire. It is scary. And also coming up tonight, does Hillary Clinton think Al Franken should resign? We asked her earlier today. More on that and straight ahead. All right, so as we mentioned earlier in the show, an avalanche of Democrats today, led by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, have called on Senator Grope himself, Al Franken, to resign after new disturbing allegations of sexual misconduct came out against him today. But one person who has been silent about Al Franken today is none other than the fake champion of women's rights, Hillary Clinton. Now, of course, she initially defended Franken when the first accusations against him surfaced because, quote, he apologized. So, Hillary Clinton, where are you now? Do you agree with your fellow Democrats? Do you think Al Franken should now step down? Now, we reached out to Clinton's spokesman for a comment. Shockingly, we have not heard back. I guess they lost my number. Joining us now with reaction, former Clinton pollster, Fox News contributor Doug Schoen, conservative columnist Monica Crowley, trial attorney Rebecca Rose Woodland. I am making the case here, 30 years of defending the Clintons, defending the predator Bill Clinton, and and her money that she took from all these countries that abuse women, kill gays and lesbians, persecute Christians and Jews. This is not out of principle. This is political expediency. And this, all of a sudden the flood today, it was clearly orchestrated by the Democrats. There's a political strategy behind it. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think the strategy is we cannot support men who are sexual abusers. Sexual assault is not acceptable.
Wrong answer.
Sean,
I think they want to turn. They turned on him because they have no choice.
They don't.
And they want to say, let's go after the Republicans.
Well, no.
After 30 years of Clinton.
But there should not be hypocrisy, and I have said this over and over on your show. If Bill Clinton was a sexual abuser, let's bring it to the forefront.
Was he? We know he was.
That's what I'm saying. Let's bring it to the forefront. Let's bring it forward. Same way as people are talking about Roy Moore, same way people talked about Conyers. Let's keep this nonpartisan, and let's make the world a better place for people who work for government
that probably
to live.
will be the good out of this.
Yeah, I hope so.
And that is that people are treated with the respect they deserve. Monica.
Well, there's something much bigger going on here. When you talk about the left, you always got to keep in mind they're always playing three-dimensional chess. What they're doing is essentially a purge of the old school Democrats. They want to rewrite the rules after this huge cultural moment that we're experiencing in this country. They want to tee this up where they're getting rid of all of these predators in their own party so that they can run more women and younger women. And they're teeing this all up so that they can redefine the culture and redefine our politics. So I think...
Is it believable after 30 years of defending...
Listen, they're driving the stake through the heart of the Clintons because they are yesterday's news. Barack Obama is running the Democratic Party now. He knows that the party has to start fresh. So you got to burn it down to the ground so that you can cultivate fresher talent. This means a lot of women, a lot more minorities, a lot more folks on the radical left. They are purging the party. And this also includes very powerful Democrats like Harvey Weinstein, etc. This is like a controlled forest fire.
By the way, apparently the Clinton team was warned about him back in 2008 by Tina Brown and Lena Dunham,
says
this past year.
Warned them as well. But remember, Sean, this is like a controlled forest fire. You burn it all down to the ground so you can have fresh growth. That's what's really going on here.
Here's what's going on. You said it's all politics. I don't necessarily disagree with anyone here. In fact, I think smart, intelligent comments. But it is politics. Because the Democrats are ahead by 10, 11 points in the generic vote for Congress. The only thing that can derail them is having to defend the indefensible, which is Franken. Franken's got to go. I mean, this is terrible for the Democrats. Now, if the party goes hard left, if Keith Ellison, God forbid, replaces Al Franken, we'll be going in an even worse direction as a party. I say that as a centrist. But candidly, this is about preserving the Democrats.
You know why I can't take this seriously? Because it was the Clinton machine and the predatory behavior of Bill was defended last year during an election year.
Right.
You know, now all of a sudden Hillary's no threat to becoming in power. They don't need to kiss their...
Right.
And so now they're being a little more honest because it's political expediency, right or wrong?
Look, no matter what's happening, the point is these people are getting purged. The bad people have to go.
But it's not out of principle. This is...
Hey,
there's a
politics,
big difference.
Sean.
Right.
It's politics. And look, for both Clintons, for different reasons, best they recede from attention. Hillary's book was ridiculous. Bill Clinton, at this point, really is yesterday's news. Both should get off the stage.
It's politics, but it's also very strategic because they're teeing this up for 2018 and then 2020. They want to say, look, we took care of all of our perverts. We got rid of all of them. Oh, the Republicans still have a bunch of perverts. We're also going to run a woman. We're going to run Kamala Harris out of California for president, or we're going to run Michelle Obama for president. They are teeing this up, so they're setting
Repeat
up...
that again. They're going to run Michelle Obama for president.
Strongest in the polls.
And they're going to run a minority woman. Mark my words, you heard it here first. It's either going to be California Senator Kamala Harris or Michelle Obama. And they are teeing up this political moment, marrying it to the cultural moment so that they can achieve that goal.
I don't even disagree with that point. I think you're probably right, Doug.
Yeah, here's the thing. The Democrats have a huge, huge problem. Conyers resigning is a step in the right direction, though I'm not clear that his son as a replacement
what
will be...
the TMZ story on his son, is that true?
I don't know, Sean, but it is a very bad story. If it is true, I do not know. But let's put it this way. The Democrats, to survive as a viable entity, given that they've gone hard left, have to get rid of what you call perverts or sexual
Where is
predators.
The outrage over what Team Mueller and his merry band of Clinton-loving, Trump-hating, you know, corrupt... I've never seen this level of corruption in my life. And to hear nothing but crickets from most of the media and the Democratic Party, this is chilling, because this is the Constitution literally being stomped on and shredded before our eyes, and few people seem to want to deal with it.
Well, we're dealing with it here, right? We're dealing with it here.
Well, I'd like to say we're one of very few. We're it.
Well, but we are the voice for that. We're the voice for the Constitution. We're the voice for these women. From the beginning, Sean, you said we can't make a decision. We need to hear the stories of the females who came forward, who strongly came forward, and thank God they did.
On the prosecutor.
You're talking about the FBI,
right.
The inherent corruption that we've seen shot through at the highest levels, not the rank and file, but the leadership. We are in a very dangerous moment in this country right now. This is the top law enforcement agency in the country.
Very scary.
This is police. This is Banana Republic police state stuff that we're talking about.
What I focus on is this rogue FBI agent who changed who changed Comey's statement. Sean,
Comey exonerated her, didn't do the investigation. That's called obstruction of justice where I live.
But the statement itself would have led to a felony indictment.
The fix was in, Doug.
I understand. I understand.
All right, sad. We got to break.
Dangerous.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When we come back, President Trump's decision. This is historic today. Mark my words. Moving the Israeli embassy to Jerusalem after so many people, presidents said they would do it. Well, it is now tonight driving radical Islamists crazy. They're talking about a day of rage. We'll talk to Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Rod Nerber, coming up straight ahead.